Oh, look who disappeared. Look who went ghost. Look who stepped back, stepped out, stepped away, and never looked back. You beautiful, dangerous, liberated soul. Welcome to the other side. Or should I say, welcome to their nightmare, because that's exactly what your absence became. A living, breathing, suffocating nightmare they can't wake up from. And the best part, the most twisted, poetic, ruthless part, they did this to themselves. They pushed, they tested, they played their games. They thought you'd break, they thought you'd beg, they thought you'd come crawling back with apologies dripping from your lips, desperate for their validation, their attention, their crumbs of affection. But you didn't. You didn't flinch. You didn't fold. You walked away. And that silence, oh, that silence, it's eating them alive. Let's get something straight right now. Your absence wasn't a tantrum. It wasn't a phase. It wasn't some dramatic exit meant to get their attention. No, your absence was a statement, a declaration, a final, irreversible decision that screamed louder than any words ever could. And what did it say? It said, "I don't need you anymore." 5 words. 5 simple, devastating, truth-soaked words that shattered every illusion they had about you, because they were convinced, absolutely convinced, that you needed them more than they needed you. They thought they were the sun, and you were some desperate little planet orbiting around their warmth. They thought they were irreplaceable. They thought you were weak. They thought you were attached. They thought you were trapped. And when you left, when you vanished without explanation, without drama, without a single backward glance, that's when the terror set in. See, people like them. They don't fear loss when they see you crying. They don't fear loss when you're begging them to stay. They don't fear loss when you're fighting for them. They actually feel powerful in those moments. They feel needed. They feel validated. They feed off your desperation like it's oxygen. But your silence, your absence, your complete and total indifference to their existence, that's not just fear anymore. That's confirmation. Confirmation that they were never as important as they thought they were. Confirmation that you were never as weak as they believed. Confirmation that everything they thought they knew about you was a lie. And that confirmation? It's destroying them from the inside out. Because now they're forced to face the truth they spent so long avoiding, the truth that you don't need them. You never really did. And that realization is so bitter, so heavy, so unbearable that it's haunting every single moment of their lives. Do you know what they're doing right now? Right this second? They're checking, obsessively, compulsively. They're scrolling through your socials, even though they swore they wouldn't. They're asking mutual friends about you, even though they act like they don't care. They're replaying old conversations in their head, trying to figure out where it all went wrong. They're staring at their phone, waiting for your name to light up the screen. They're crafting messages they'll never send because their pride won't let them, but their desperation is killing them. They're lying awake at 3 a.m., wondering if you're thinking about them, wondering if you miss them, wondering if you're okay, wondering if you've moved on. And the answer? The cold, brutal, liberating answer? You have. You're not thinking about them. You're not missing them. You're thriving without them. And that truth is a knife twisting deeper every single day. They thought they were teaching you a lesson. They thought their silence would break you. They thought their games would make you desperate. They thought withholding their presence would make you realize your worth was tied to them. But all they did was give you the space to realize something far more dangerous. That your worth was never tied to them at all. That you were whole before them. That you were enough without them. That your peace, your power, your purpose, it didn't need their approval. It didn't need their validation. It didn't need their participation. And the moment you realized that, the moment that truth clicked in your mind like a lock opening, that's when you became untouchable. That's when you became dangerous. That's when you became everything they feared you could be, free. Now let's talk about what happened next. Because your absence didn't just create fear, it created chaos. It created questions. It created doubt. Suddenly, they started analyzing everything. Every interaction, every conversation, every moment they took you for granted, every time they dismissed you, every time they made you feel small, every time they chose someone else over you, every time they played games instead of being real. All of it came rushing back like a flood they couldn't control. And for the first time, maybe the first time ever, they started seeing you clearly. Not as the person they wanted you to be, not as the person they tried to mold you into, but as the person you actually were. Strong, resilient, valuable, irreplaceable. And that vision, it terrified them, because they knew they lost it. They knew they destroyed it. They knew they took it for granted, and now it's gone. You know what's beautiful about this? What's absolutely poetic about this whole situation? It's that they can't even be angry at you. They want to be. They want to villainize you. They want to tell themselves and everyone else that you're cold, heartless, cruel for disappearing. But deep down, they know the truth. They know they pushed you away. They know they chose this. They know every warning sign they ignored, every boundary they crossed, every moment they chose their ego over your heart. They know, and that knowledge is suffocating them. Because how do you blame someone for leaving when you're the reason they had to go? How do you play the victim when you were the one holding the knife? How do you seek sympathy when everyone around you can see you created your own emptiness? You can't, so they sit in their silence, drowning in regret, suffocating in realization, haunted by what could have been if only they had chosen differently. Here's the part they didn't calculate. The part they didn't see coming. They thought your absence would be temporary. They thought you'd cool off and come back. They thought this was just another fight, another phase, another storm that would pass and everything would go back to normal. But normal doesn't exist anymore. You rewrote the entire script. You changed the game. You evolved past the person they knew. And now when they try to reach you, if they ever find the courage to try, they'll be reaching for a ghost, a memory, a version of you that doesn't exist anymore, because you're not the same person who left. You're not the same person who tolerated their nonsense. You're not the same person who bent over backward trying to make them see your value. You've become someone who knows their value, someone who protects their peace, someone who refuses to settle for anything less than what they deserve. And that person doesn't have space for them anymore. Let's dive deeper into their psychology right now, because understanding their torment makes your freedom taste even sweeter. They're experiencing what psychologists call cognitive dissonance. Their mind is at war with itself. One part of them wants to believe you're suffering without them, that you're broken, that you're lonely, that you need them just as much as they need you. But the other part, the part they can't silence, knows the truth, knows you're fine, knows you're better, knows you're thriving. And these two realities cannot coexist peacefully. So their mind is fracturing. They're questioning everything. They're doubting themselves. They're wondering if they made the biggest mistake of their life. And every day that passes without you, every day you don't reach out. Every day you live your life as if they never existed. It confirms what they fear most, that they were never as significant as they thought they were. You want to know the most dangerous thing about your absence? It's permanent. It's not a strategy. It's not a game. It's not manipulation. It's genuine indifference born from genuine growth. And they can feel that. They can sense the shift. They can tell this isn't the same person who used to chase them. This isn't the same person who used to fight for their attention. This isn't the same person who valued their opinion above their own. You've transmuted. You've transformed. You've transcended. And that transformation is irreversible, because you can't unknow what you now know. You can't unfeel the peace you now feel. You can't return to a version of yourself that accepted less than you deserved. The old you died in that absence. And from those ashes rose someone they can't touch, someone they can't control, someone they can't manipulate, someone who belongs to themselves and themselves alone. Now watch what happens in their social circles. Watch what happens to their image. Because your absence is telling a story they can't control. People notice, people talk, people wonder, where did they go? What happened between you two? Why aren't they around anymore? And they have to answer those questions. They have to explain your absence. And what can they say? The truth? That they took you for granted? That they played games? That they tested you until you walked away? They can't say that without exposing themselves, so they lie. They minimize. They create false narratives. They paint themselves as the victim of your coldness. But here's the problem with lies. They require constant maintenance. They require convincing performances. They require everyone around them to be blind to the truth. But people aren't stupid. People see patterns. People remember how they treated you. And slowly, gradually, inevitably, their narrative falls apart. And their reputation crumbles with it. Meanwhile, you're over here building, creating, growing, becoming. You're not stuck in the past replaying old hurts. You're not obsessing over what they're doing. You're not checking their profiles, hoping they're miserable. You're focused on yourself. You're healing. You're elevating. You're discovering parts of yourself that were buried under the weight of that connection. You're learning what you actually like, what you actually want, what you actually need. You're establishing boundaries you never had. You're cultivating relationships that actually nourish you. You're pursuing dreams you put on hold. You're remembering who you were before them and becoming who you were always meant to be. And that energy, that authentic, powerful, liberated energy, it's magnetic. It's attracting opportunities. It's attracting people. It's attracting experiences. It's attracting a life you didn't even know was possible. And they can see it. Even from a distance, they can see you glowing. And it's killing them. Here's what they're learning the hard way. Absence doesn't make the heart grow fonder when the person leaving has genuinely moved on. It just makes the heart grow heavy with regret. They thought your presence was guaranteed. They thought you were a permanent fixture in their life. They thought they could treat you however they wanted, and you'd always be there. They thought they had unlimited chances. They thought they had forever to get it right. But forever ended the day you walked away. And now they're stuck with memories they can't change. Conversations they can't redo. Moments they can't get back. Chances they can't reclaim. And all they have is the haunting realization that they destroyed something rare. Something real, something they'll spend the rest of their life trying to find again in other people. But they won't, because what you gave them was unique. What you offered them was authentic. What you brought to their life was irreplaceable, and they know it. Let's get brutally honest for a second. You scared them. Your growth scared them. Your peace scared them. Your ability to walk away scared them. Because it revealed something they didn't want to acknowledge. That you were stronger than they gave you credit for. That you were more independent than they assumed. That you had more self-respect than they expected. They built an entire identity around being needed by you, around being wanted by you, around being chosen by you. And when you stop needing, wanting, and choosing them, their entire identity collapsed. Now they're scrambling, trying to find someone else to validate them, trying to recreate what you gave them, trying to fill the void your absence created. But it's not working, because other people aren't you. Other connections aren't what you had. Other experiences aren't what you shared. You were once in a lifetime, and they gambled with you, and they lost. You know what the ultimate power move is? It's not revenge. It's not exposing them. It's not making them hurt the way they made you hurt. The ultimate power move is Indifference. Complete, genuine, unbothered indifference. Because revenge means you still care. Exposure means you're still affected. But indifference? Indifference means they lost their power over you. Indifference means they no longer occupy space in your mind. Indifference means you moved on so completely that they became irrelevant. And that irrelevance is more painful to them than any revenge plot you could concoct. Because being hated means you still evoke emotion. Being forgotten means you never mattered enough to hold on to. And that's where you are now. You've reached a place where they're just another chapter in your story, a lesson learned, a phase completed, a growth catalyst. Nothing more, nothing less. Now let's talk about what happens when they try to come back. Because they will try. Maybe not today, maybe not this month, but eventually curiosity will turn into desperation. Eventually, pride will crumble under the weight of regret. Eventually, they'll reach out. They'll test the waters with a casual message, a random memory, a just checking in. And in that moment, you'll have a choice. You can respond and fall back into old patterns, or you can honor the journey that brought you here. You can remember the pain that pushed you away. You can respect the healing that happened in their absence. You can protect the peace you fought so hard to build. Because here's the truth they don't want you to know. People don't change because they miss you. They change because they lose you. And even then, most of the time, the change is temporary. It's a performance designed to get you back. And once they have you again, once they're comfortable again, the cycle repeats. The games return. The taking for granted resumes, and you're right back where you started. Is that really what you want? Your absence taught you something they never could. It taught you that you're complete on your own. It taught you that happiness doesn't require their participation. It taught you that peace doesn't need their approval. It taught you that love should never feel like a battlefield. It taught you that the right people don't make you question your worth. It taught you that your energy is sacred and should be protected. It taught you that walking away from toxicity isn't weakness. It's self-preservation. It taught you that sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself is remove yourself from situations that diminish you. It taught you that you are not obligated to stay in spaces that don't honor you. It taught you that closure comes from within, not from them. And most importantly, it taught you that you are enough. You were always enough. You will always be enough, with or without them. Here's what they're realizing now in their quiet moments. In those late night hours when they can't sleep. In those random moments when a song reminds them of you. In those empty spaces where you used to be. They're realizing you were the best thing they had and didn't recognize it. You were the realest connection they experienced, and they sabotaged it. You were the person who saw them completely and loved them anyway, and they destroyed that. You were loyal when they were disloyal. You were consistent when they were flaky. You were present when they were distant. You were giving when they were taking. You were fighting when they were quitting. And they let you go. They watched you walk away. They let pride win over love. They let ego win over connection. They let stupidity win over something beautiful. And now they're paying the price. The price of knowing exactly what they lost. The price of living with the consequences of their choices. The price of understanding too late what they had. But here's where it gets interesting. Here's where the tables completely turn. While they're drowning in regret, you're swimming in possibility. While they're stuck in the past, you're building a future. While they're obsessing over what was, you're excited about what's coming. Because your absence didn't just free you from them. It freed you from the version of yourself that accepted less. From the version that ignored red flags. From the version that made excuses for bad behavior. From the version that prioritized someone else's comfort over your own peace. That version is gone. And in its place stands someone unrecognizable, someone powerful, someone whole. Someone who learned that the greatest relationship you'll ever have is the one you have with yourself. And once you master that, once you truly love yourself, once you truly protect yourself, once you truly prioritize yourself, everything else falls into place. Let's address the elephant in the room. You're not perfect. You made mistakes too. You had your moments. You weren't always easy. But here's the difference. You were willing to grow. You were willing to communicate. You were willing to work on yourself. You were willing to meet them halfway. You were willing to be vulnerable. You were willing to try. They weren't. They chose comfort over growth. They chose pride over connection. They chose their ego over your heart. They chose temporary satisfaction over lasting commitment. They chose games over authenticity. And those choices, they have consequences. Consequences they're living with right now. Consequences that will follow them into their next relationship and the one after that. Because patterns don't break themselves, and people who don't learn from their mistakes are doomed to repeat them. So while they're busy cycling through connections trying to find what they lost, you're busy becoming the kind of person who attracts what you deserve. Your absence became your superpower. Your silence became your statement. Your peace became your revenge. And your growth became your legacy. You don't need to prove anything to them anymore. You don't need to explain yourself. You don't need to justify your decision. You don't need to make them understand. You don't need their validation. You don't need their approval. You don't need their acknowledgement. You don't need anything from them. And that realization, that liberating, powerful, life-changing realization, that's what freedom feels like. That's what self-love looks like. That's what evolution sounds like. And they can hear it, they can feel it, they can see it. Even from the distance you created, they can sense the shift. They can sense the power. They can sense the finality. And it terrifies them because they know, they finally know, you meant it. You really don't need them anymore. So here's what happens next. You keep going, you keep building, you keep growing, you keep protecting your energy, you keep honoring your journey, you keep trusting the process. You keep believing in yourself. You keep choosing yourself every single day because you've tasted freedom now. You've experienced peace now. You've felt what it's like to be unattached to chaos. And there's no going back from that. There's no returning to dysfunction once you've experienced alignment. There's no settling for crumbs once you've tasted abundance. There's no accepting disrespect once you've established boundaries. You've evolved. And evolution doesn't reverse itself. It only moves forward. And that's exactly what you're doing. Moving forward, with or without them. Preferably without them. Because your absence confirmed what they feared most. That you're not just surviving without them. You're thriving. You're flourishing. You're becoming. And that truth, that undeniable, powerful, liberating truth, will haunt them forever.
There comes a time in all of our lives when we must make difficult decisions, especially regarding the people we allow to stay in our lives. It's not easy to walk away, to distance yourself from someone who once meant so much to you. But sometimes it becomes necessary because your peace, your happiness, and your self-respect demand it. And when you do, remember this. They will regret your absence forever. Imagine the countless times you've been there for them, offering your support, your kindness, and your understanding. You gave them your time, your energy, and your heart. You were their confidant, their rock, the one they could rely on when the world seemed to turn against them. But somewhere along the way, they forgot what a privilege it was to have you in their life. They took your presence for granted. They mistook your patience for weakness and your forgiveness for an open invitation to continue their disregard for your feelings. They didn't see the quiet strength it took for you to stay, to give them chance after chance, hoping they would change, hoping they would see your worth. But now, you've decided to walk away. You've chosen yourself, your peace, and your well-being over the chaos they brought into your life. It's a painful decision, one that doesn't come easily, but it's necessary. And let me tell you, they will feel the weight of your absence. They will look around and realize that no one else was willing to do what you did for them. They'll miss the warmth of your presence, the sound of your laughter, and the comfort of knowing you were always there. They'll search for you in others, but no one will measure up. They'll feel the emptiness where your light used to shine, and they'll regret not appreciating you when they had the chance. In their quiet moments, they'll remember the way you made them feel, the way you lifted them up when they were down, the way you believed in them even when they couldn't believe in themselves. They'll think back to the times when you put their needs above your own, and they'll be haunted by the realization that they let go of something truly special. They'll regret the careless words, the broken promises, and the thoughtless actions that pushed you away. They'll wish they could turn back time, but by then it will be too late. Your absence will be a constant reminder of the love they lost, a love that they'll never find again. But as they grapple with their regret, you will be moving forward. You'll be healing, growing, and rediscovering your strength. You'll surround yourself with people who value you, who cherish your presence, and who understand your worth. You'll find new joy, new love, and new purpose free from the burden of their toxicity. And while they are stuck in the past, consumed by what they lost, you will be thriving. Your life will be a testament to the power of choosing yourself, of walking away from what no longer serves you, and of finding peace in your own company. Remember this, your absence is not a loss for you, it is a gain. It is the beginning of a new chapter, one where you are free to be unapologetically yourself, where you are loved and respected for exactly who you are. The regret they will feel is the price they pay for failing to see your worth. So hold your head high, knowing that you made the right decision. Trust that better days are ahead and that you deserve all the happiness this world has to offer. They may regret your absence forever, but you will move forward, stronger and more resilient than ever.